So you see the problems that us old folks have to deal with in the morning, Tyler. I can't even get my intro in because of blanking Twitch apparently updating itself and causing issues for folks of a certain vintage. I don't know if you guys have that problem, or maybe maybe since we're on earlier than you, we're setting the table for you. Hey, maybe you should anticipate problems on Twitch for Scarves and Spikes.
This is the sole reason why we have a show at night and not in the morning, because I'm not a morning person, and it would be completely drunken at 9 o'clock in the morning if I was running anything at this time.
You sit there and you point a finger at me like I'm a morning person. Like I'm a morning person.
Most people are better morning people than I am. I'm just saying.
Oh, no. No, no. No, sir.
It's rough.
Why do you think the size of the cup that I have that involves soda is this large as I promote?
Well, yeah, I mean,
at Stripers today.
If anybody, has ever wondered why I'm usually on my second cup of coffee, by the time I get on here in the morning, it's because I've already been up for a couple of hours and I'm still not up yet.
Well, and that's because you are chasing a younger demographic around the new Pilgrim Casa. That's what you're up to.
Yeah, that is true.
It's like you're chasing young demos that can boost your numbers and all that kind of stuff. No, it's like, hey, I have complete and total respect for those of you who have to get up early in the morning and chase after younger demos within your own household, not outside, on social media or anything. You get my full credit, brother. I mean, I don't know. I'd be probably in a pool of drool over in the corner someplace having to do those kinds of things on a daily basis. So hi.
Howdy.
Oh my God. So I was mentioning before we got sidetracked by the new Twitch and apparently downloads and uploads and new bugs that they fixed. Apparently the dichotomy of the press opportunities that have happened this week at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, where you got somebody who went on social media and, damn it, said that he is in fact mortal, and it's going to be unless there's an MLS Cup championship and what we can get independent confirmation from Sabalob Janidze that this conversation did in fact happen, that Dax McCarty is going to hang it up after 19 seasons at the end of this season, whenever that is, for Atlanta United. And then you had the Miranchuk introduction. And we found out, and I'm sure that this was a field day for Freihofer and for Jason, finding out about his artists that he completely and totally digs. And so now we know the Miranchuk playlist. So we had an interesting dichotomy, and it's only Wednesday up in Marietta.
I got to get in touch with DJ EU and just see what that playlist is going to look like, because I'm sure it's going to be on fire.
Oh goodness.
It was funny though, because it was kind of mentioned 3 weeks ago, kind of when all this was coming to the forefront about him coming to Atlanta and all. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, he really loves rap, especially rappers from Atlanta. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then he gets here and names off, a whole handful. But
yeah, it was not a cheap pop that he was chasing. I mean, this was legit mentions.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because anybody can be like, Luda.
Yes, yes, I like the Luda. I like the Luda.
However,
see, now you're having me chasing drops already, man. It's like
that's what I come here for.
Yes, exactly. Go to your library and find them all out. It's like it's just I'm sitting here stalling, trying to figure out. So of course, since it was one of the
new, be ready for it.
No. Yeah, see, I mean, it's there, and but no, I mean, this was not a cheap pop. He goes deep into the library, and he's going deep cuts. I mean, literally, he's like 5th album, 6th cut on the B side. So, I mean, it's for Alexei Miranchuk, we have seen the introductory videos of him at practice, and he introduced by Rob Valentino. I don't know if he has made the spray bottle water and cake gauntlet yet for showing up, or maybe the cake gauntlet is just reserved for birthdays. But
yeah, not as much this year.
Yeah, well, when you sometimes you just have to kind of get through the day. I am instantly intrigued with Alexei Miranchuk and how he integrates and what you're anticipating for LAG and how many minutes he gives you and that kind of stuff. And that's the beauty of the transfer window, I guess. You sit there and it's like, okay, we have this new person and how does he integrate and how many minutes and all this kind of stuff. Obviously, I mean, can he give me 45? Does he get the start? Does he give me 30? Does he come off the bench? I mean, that will be obviously the monitoring before they hop on a plane and head to LA. But looking forward to seeing how Alexei Miranchuk integrates with his new teammates here in town.
He has a lot of variables, I think, kind of going against him in this potential first match, because everybody always talks about how hard it is to play in MLS on the road. Mm-hmm. And you're literally about to travel almost 3,000 miles. It's going to be one of the longest trips that you'll take as an Atlanta United player.
Welcome to Major League Soccer.
Yeah, let's go across the country through 3 time zones. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a tough ask no matter what. But I think the biggest thing is for the coaching staff, if they have to go into this and kind of give him the mindset of you just got to go out and play your game. Like, he can't be burdened, I think, with the thought of you were really the only main transfer in this window, and now it's all on you to save the season. Yeah. He's got to get integrated. He's got to get time. I do think he'll come out and make the team better, but he's still just one guy. He's one player. And it is interesting because I think if this were Pineda's team still, you would almost expect him to maybe be lucky to get 30 minutes at the end of the game because they were so careful, right? Rob chasing, this potential coaching job permanently, and just who Rob is, maybe a little bit more of like a hard charging kind of guy. He may say, hey, you're good. You've had time. You've been training. Go out there and give me a full first half. Let's get us off on the right foot. But I don't know. We'll see.
And this is, when you don't have full screen graphics, you have to rely on math and do it independently. Right. But we knew going into the season, and I mean from the absolute beginning of the season, that the Eastern Conference was going to be a street fight. We knew this. And it is no different right now with the stretch run because, I mean, New England with 2 matches in hand, they can make some hay. And the Langoni purchase for $7 million, he's ready to hit the ground running. We'll see how he integrates when it comes to this weekend and beyond. But right now, 9 through the bottom, 9 through 7, 9 through 15, 7 teams separated by 5 points to get into the play-in round in the Eastern Conference. And then if you were to just take 10 through 15 and pull them to the side, you're talking about the 8-9 right now, as things are. Toronto and Atlanta, you're 8-9. But Atlanta, with a match in hand on Toronto, you take care of business somewhere along the way with a makeup game. You're in the 8. Then you're within shouting distance of Orlando. Orlando, traditionally, they kind of do the slow fade going into the playoffs.
Yep.
They can't afford to do a slow fade because of everyone who's chasing. And then, you really, for anybody that's, let's say from the Orlando, from the purple team perspective, you're at 7, you're a win behind Charlotte, you're 4 points behind NYC, and then you get into the B-plus players and the A-plus group that's, 1 through 4. So if you were to just sit there and look at 7, 8, 9, just the realism of 7, 8, and 9 right now, you get hot, you take care of the match in hand, you get to 8, and the purple team is what the purple team is, but you got all these folks behind you. I cannot recall a race to get into the playoffs being as tight as this is with only the handful of matches left that we're seeing this season.
I don't think the Eastern Conference gets enough credit from just like a pure entertainment sporting environment. Like this conference, I mean, we knew it. Like everybody said it going into it, right? It's going to be an absolute, juggernaut of a conference to go through. And you're seeing it, right? This is really the 2/3 point, I think, of the season. Mm-hmm. Not mathing fully this morning. But.
Sounds good. We can round off. We sit there and we go, 9 at 25, 34. So 9 over 34. You're 27, 28%
ish, right there.
30%.
But yeah, I mean, you're looking at all the teams below you, right? Could it's not that they're super bad teams. Chicago, rough. New England has been rough, but I mean, you've seen what New England, they can go kind of on a weird run at any time.
Why, yes, they can.
So it's just, I don't know. It's not easy, right? It's not going to be easy, and it is going to take some digging down deep, because the teams above you, like you said, they're not going to just give it to you and drop off. Orlando tends to kind of fall off a little bit near the end of the season. We've seen that with his teams like yearly. It's just a thing that they do. But you still have a lot of ground to cover, and it's 9 games. And some of those games on paper, excuse me, maybe a little bit easier, in air quotes.
Yes.
But
Easier.
You don't have a gimme game in front of you at all.
No. Yeah. So I mean, that's what you're, yes, as Tyler clears his throat. And I mean, as we look at the rest of the schedule, and I know that we're going to be doing some schedule hopping here. Here's what it is for Atlanta United for the remainder of the season. And our best friend, schedule compression, is going to be a part of this as well. And it's odd at points, but you've got schedule compression that's a part of it. You go to LA, which is fine. You know, you're going to Carson, California, and LAG. We'll get to LAG in a minute. Then you come back and you go up 85 to B of A to take on Charlotte. And then your buddy schedule compression comes into play, but not for a while, because get this, you get a week off. It's like you play on a weekend, you get a week off in September to start the weekend, to start September off. And then it's Nashville. And then 4 days later, Messi and friends show up. Then 3 matches in a week, you go to Red Bull Arena. So right there, you're looking at team below you that's in the fight with you, team above you, but you don't know what kind of a lineup they would bring in because of midweek weekend. So probably rotated, but, you know, I think Tata Martino has made a deal with someone, you know, like in damn Yankees or something like that, to have a roster that he has and still end up with points at the end of the day. Then you go to Red Bull. We still don't know what, you know, Emil Forsberg's health is right now and what his recovery track is. Obviously, we're talking like a month down the road. But then after Red Bull, you get a week off, but then you've got to go to Subaru Park to take on Philly. Then you come back, and then in October, it's CF Montreal, who's got their own problems, Joseph Martinez.
Just a little bit.
And then Red Bull come to town, midweek weekend, and then you get another week off before you finish in Central Florida against the Purple team. So, I mean, it literally is after LA, the rest of your business is in the Eastern Conference for the remainder of the year. And so the schedule is like, you kind of take the Western Conference game with LAG, you kind of almost have to put it to the side, because then everything else is Eastern Conference. And it's like the old cartoon. It's like the old cartoons when you'd have the bar brawl and you just see the puff of smoke and you see, like, you know, fists flying and everything like that. That's what you got here with the rest of the Eastern Conference chasing in once you get past this weekend.
Yeah, Bugs Bunny cartoon for sure all day.
Yes, exactly.
Everybody feet flying out of the window.
Yes.
Yeah, I got you.
Uh-huh.
I can even hear the noise in my head right now. But yeah, it's not easy. I mean, of course, the last thing you want to do is come off of a break, a self-imposed break, but a break. And
they were on a break.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then play a team like the Galaxy, because the Galaxy is good. They have a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, you know, they're definitely not the Galaxy team they were last year.
No,
for sure.
Yep.
And they have a lot of superstar talent. So it's kind of a rough, I think, reintroduction, because you got to travel across the country. You have to play a good team. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a hostile environment. They actually do have people that show up to their matches. So it's tough, but you got to, like you said, put that one past you, get back to where it really counts, because you can start, you know, making some ground on some teams. That Atlanta-Nashville game is huge. Charlotte also, but Charlotte is away. That's never going to be easy, though you did it last year.
Yeah.
And then it just seems like the universe would just have Atlanta lose that Miami game at home because they shouldn't have won the one earlier in the season.
Bite your tongue.
But it is a home game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that Messi's going to be there, whatever, but you've done it once.
Whatever. Yes, exactly.
Do it at home. So it definitely could go either way. The wild card being Marenchuk, who knows what he brings, who knows the kind of dynamic that he changes in the team.
Right.
But I think you're in a position where it's completely in your hands whether or not you have what you would consider a successful season or not, because you can erase a lot of the crap that's happened if you go on a run in these last, I don't want to say 9 games because you got to do something in the playoffs. So we'll say, 11 or 12.
Yeah. So regular season plus playoffs, whatever that number ends up being.
Yep.
Who is in the Tyler Pilgrim spot shadow? And what I mean by that is, traditionally when you see a broadcast come on the air, there's play-by-play in color and they go through all of their machinations and you've got a lineup and, players to watch. So if you and I are in the booth and we roll through the broadcast open, title card over wide, then we say Atlanta United versus insert team here. Players to watch for Atlanta United. When it comes to this stretch run, who are you focusing on? Who is in the Tyler Pilgrim spot shadow for players to watch so Atlanta United achieves the result that they are chasing after here with these remaining games left in the season? Who's in your spot shadow?
Obviously, Maranchuk is the obvious one, so we'll skip that one. I would go with
the Thiago Almada thing, where everybody, it's like every week, player to watch, Thiago Almada.
Yeah, or Messi for Miami. Pick somebody else.
Yes,
that's the easy one. That's low hanging fruit.
Right.
Saba for me. Okay. I think Saba has all season. I mean, he's had success and he's worked his rear end off. We know that. If he could just burn a little bit of sage and get his luck just on his side of the line. And some of these, shots off the bar, off the woodwork, some of the unlucky moments he's had where the ball just did not go in the back of the net when it should have. Mm-hmm. If he can have luck, swing his way a little bit, then he would be the player that would, I think, most positively impact this team in the last 9 games, because he's doing 90% of the work right. It's just he's gotten very unlucky throughout the season. So I think he's the big one for me. Because he could be, if things start going his way, he could be a numerical game changer in terms of just his stats and how they contribute to actually getting 3 points as opposed to 1 in some of these games.
Let me posit another option here in addition. Left wing in general. Because of what hasn't happened on left wing. No, the offensive output just has not been there this season. So for a place that has had a collective gap in statistics and input, I would say what you can get out of left wing, whatever that looks like. And I mean, in times past, we've seen the attacking midfielder drift into that space and create problems. We've seen Saba flip and find space wherever that is to create issues. If it just so happens that the issue is an issue on the left, as opposed to Saba being in his natural position on the right and having folks twist and those kinds of things, I would venture to say output out of the left side in whatever form that is should be something to look for when it comes to success for Atlanta United in this stretch run.
Yeah, it has to happen. And I think going back to the original spotlight question, it's just who, right? And we mentioned that during the transfer window. If Atlanta didn't get a striker, then you've got to find a left winger that's going to actually give you something consistent. Shonday right now is still going to be the guy I think that they default to. He has to be. And because we know that he can do it. He had that moment when he came in where he was on fire. Mm-hmm. And then he's definitely fallen off and just become inconsistent.
Yeah.
So I think if you're Rob Valentino, I think, yes, that entire position has a spotlight on it, but I think you have to start getting creative. I mean, we've seen Tyler Wolff over there. I would like to see him back over there to where he maybe doesn't have to do anything outside of his style of play. But you've got two guys who, when they are on the pitch, whether it's pretty or not, they're giving you numbers. I think maybe you put Tiare up top and move Rios over to that left wing and just kind of experiment with that, because you now have like I said before, a wild card in Alexi in the midfield, who he's smart. He's also left-footed. That's going to change things up a little bit. So I think, yeah, you just have to kind of play around with things, because Daniel Rios and Jamal Tiare don't just have to be interchangeable. They can be on the pitch at the same time.
And as we've discussed with Saba, you sit there, you find the open space. Literally, if you play with one behind the other, and since I don't have a whiteboard here with me, since we can't do whiteboard chronicles, basically if you have, say, striker and then second striker in behind. Oh, there you go. Look at that. See there. Now, where's your dry erase? Where's your dry erase marker?
I got it. Here we go.
Okay. So what you are positing is, say, Daniel Rios and Jamal Tiare on the field at the same time. And so if, say, you have one and then a second striker, like one, like literally one behind the other, and then then have them drift and or slide to whichever place they need to be. So
yeah,
I see. Okay. Seeing that whiteboard chronicles. I liked it. All right. and you run it. Then you run it in the alley. So I mean, that's I look at left wing, and I know that folks in the Twitch pitch are mentioning the return of Noah Cobb, and along those lines, I would also say the younger talent that has been developed and is playing for Atlanta United. At some point that they are going to bonk. That is always going to be the case. And what I mean by that is for someone who does not run or bike for a living, or watches the Tour de France or any kind of a marathon, there's always that moment where you hit the wall, and it's called bonking, basically. And so you hit that wall, and if it's the first time that you're hitting that wall at that point of a season, that deep in a season, it's about pushing through that wall, knowing that there's more that you can give, and that there's more of you that can help in a situation like this. And so I'm looking at the younger players that Rob has really been impressed with at points this season, as they're learning, they're learning out there in Major League Soccer, getting through that bonk, getting through that wall, and pushing through there and being there for the stretch run as well. So the younger talent that's been getting quality minutes, you wonder if, maybe the Leagues Cup break helps prevent bonking, and that they'll be okay for the stretch run, or if they get to that wall and then pushing through it. So that would be my second grouping of folks to look at.
Yeah, because they can't afford to bonk at this point. Like, if you had the season I think everybody expected you to have a few months ago, you could probably get away with a bonk or two at this point, but you're just not, you haven't set yourself up that way to where you can afford to really not perform in any way. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think the young guys, we saw a lot out of them last season, right? You saw Tyler Wolff had a phenomenal season in terms of just like his numbers that he put up. Mm-hmm. And Jay Fortune has definitely come into his own this year. Noah Cobb has come into his own this year. Last year you had guys, that were coming off the bench and they were getting goals. Some are still here, some aren't. There should be a sense of pride among those young guys. The Jay Fortunes, the Firminos, like all these guys that are kind of on that edge of being like, a significant minute stealer in the first team.
Look at Noah in episode 2.
Yeah.
Where Noah is the one who's speaking up in the locker room. It's like literally it's Dax and it's Noah. And Noah, who has come up through this system, and he bleeds 5-stripe blood, just as much as anybody, because he's come through the system. He ain't taking no ish. And for someone of Noah's age and knowing what Atlanta United means to him specifically, not just, first team minutes or anything, but for Noah to step up, and now he'll be back off of his U20 duties. I think that having that, I'll say voice of Atlanta United experience, not necessarily first team experience, first team minutes, but Atlanta United experience. He gets what it means to wear that crest.
It's a source of pride.
Yeah. So, having those younger guys, we've seen Jay Fortune basically take over and have earned the minutes that's there. Noah Cobb, not afraid of anybody and not afraid of anybody twice on Tuesday, and Ephra getting the minutes that he gets and the spot starts that he has. So the younger guys, I think that, to your point, I think that seeing them continue to grow and develop and get more on-the-job training in Major League Soccer, I think is going to be huge as well.
Yeah, because they all can go back after the fact and have something. They have a different bond than the rest of the team does. They're not necessarily, guys that were just traded in. Mm-hmm. I'll always go back to the conversation I had last year in that broom closet in Orlando with Tyler Wolff and Brad Guzan after they played last year, where Tyler Wolff scored that the game tying goal, I think in like the 89th minute or something.
Right.
Pulled out the point, and one of Brad's mentions about Tyler Wolff and all the younger guys on a team like Atlanta was, when you have a team with the aspirations that Atlanta has, they have the money to go out and get extremely good talent from anywhere in the world if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And so it does make it a little more difficult for a Tyler Wolff or a Jay Fortune or a Noah Cobb or any of these guys to truly break through to the first team and earn like a starting spot there, or even get super significant time there, because if there's a deficiency in the roster, especially at certain times, it's easy to just go out and find that free agent or find a trade, whatever, because a little bit more of the reward that you're going to get back out of it for the most part, because you have tons of analytics. And if you're looking at your homegrown talent and they're just not quite there yet, which is not a bad thing, because you can't just throw them into the fire all the time. But if you're looking at that talent and they're not quite there yet, then a team like Atlanta has to go out and find somebody, which makes it even harder. So, Brad Guzan mentioned that last year, and it kind of always stuck with me. Now you're in a position where the team could, their season essentially could hinge on what the younger guys do in the minutes that they receive. And at the end of it all, that could be a big, big source of pride amongst, that kind of younger generation, to help say like, hey, we were the hungry ones and we helped push this team at least across the finish line into the playoffs. What happens after that, who knows? But it's not lost on the team that there's a potential that they don't make the playoffs this year. And that's got to be something that they rally behind.
And it will be, it will be part of the Palace intrigue in all of this, where you can't look ahead, but that there's a lot of noise coming from behind. And I mean, it's a lot of folks. I mean, it is one of those crowded, 5,000 meter races where, everybody's in that pack on the inside lane, and there's jostling, there's elbows, there's pushing, somebody's going to hop out to lane 3 to try to pass, and it won't work, and they've got to get back in line. I mean, this really is going to shape itself up as a hell of a race to get into the playoffs, where we look at that breakaway group, 1 through 4, basically, and they're going to sort it out amongst themselves. And we'll, talk about that probably here this morning too, just to kind of get what you and the rest of the folks at Scarves and Spikes think about the Eastern Conference. But yeah, literally, this is going to shape itself up to be a nasty fight, and you're going to have to focus on yourself. Not scoreboard watch, but scoreboard watch. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, because you have to be aware.
Yeah,
you have to. I mean,
but you can't let it bog you down,
right,
and to the point to where you're distracted with the task at hand. And
the easy answer is just go win your games, and you're in.
Damn it!
If only that's that easy, guys. Come on. But yeah, I think you have to be aware, especially when the first game that you're playing. I think everybody is looking at it as this is not looking great for Atlanta, just all things considered. But you can't let that set the tone for the rest of the season either. If you go to LA and you lose, whatever, you just got to put that one out. Almost like the Columbus game at the beginning of the season. It felt like it was a preseason game because you had so much time after. You got to, I guess, kind of look at this one the same way. Like, get something out of it if you can, for sure. And you should go with the absolute intention that you're going to get 3 points. But realistically, that's tough. You go and you perform, after that and have a solid amount of points per game, you're in the playoffs.
What did you think about Dax's farewell? I mean, we played it yesterday to lead off the show, but when Dax posted what he posted, what did you think about what Dax said?
I think everybody kind of thought it was coming in some way, right? But as far as what he said and everything, I mean, Dax, we know from talking to him in the locker room and everything else.
Yeah.
Very well-spoken guy, obviously has his own podcast as well. But he's going to be truthful and he's going to be honest and he's going to let you know his feelings. And I think overall this kind of summed up his time in this league. And, I guess at the end of the day, to me, it was expected at some point, maybe a little, I was thinking maybe it'd be a little closer to the end of the season, but I want to say Parkhurst did the same thing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Next time he's on, we'll ask him about hanging up the boots and that kind of a thing. I'll have to write that down. So Parkhurst retirement. So Cap, when you wanted to retire, how did you retire?
I feel like he put a video out. Maybe it was, I'm pretty sure it was like kind of near the end of the summer.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember him getting his standing ovation at the Benz in that last game.
Yeah.
And then they went to the playoffs.
Right.
Anyway.
But, when you look at what Dax has done this season, specifically with Atlanta United, you knew coming in that for him, he was going to come in with a chip on his shoulder, considering how the ending was in Nashville. And I know a lot of folks will sit there and say that he was completely and totally disrespected in Nashville with his ending. And he comes to Atlanta, and I think that those of us who cover the team were thinking he was going to be in that Ozzie Alonso role where it was going to be, spot starter, come off the bench, give me a couple here, give me a couple there, give me 20 minutes to close out a match, give me 30, give me the veteran experience, help me out in alternate competitions. And he admitted that was going to be a bit of an adjustment for him, knowing all of the minutes that he's done and all of that he's done in his previous 18 years of a career. It was going to be a different vibe for him to do that coming into the situation here in Atlanta.
Yeah, and he even admitted at the beginning of the season that initially he wasn't getting used as much as he thought he would.
Yeah.
And then I think that picked up immensely. And you did kind of see his effect on the field in I think a similar sense of a guy like Jeff Larentowicz and to a degree Ozzie, but realistically Atlanta fans only got to see Ozzie for 4 games.
Yeah. The role that you anticipated Ozzie being in was what you ended up getting with Dax, I think. So it was basically, in a perfect world, we would have loved to have seen Ozzie do what Dax is doing. And so it was basically Ozzie 2.0 in a healthier environment. Yeah.
And I think you saw it in a lot of ways when he came on the pitch. Things settled down a little bit. And that's what you want out of a good midfielder, especially a good defensive midfielder. They're going to set the tempo. They're going to push when they need to, and they're going to kind of slow everybody down when they need to. Dax was that guy. He was a master of that. And, it's not like he's going right now. We still have some time to see him.
Yeah, we're not kicking dirt on the man.
No.
But it's just,
But it's one of those things, like the number 6 role is probably the most overlooked role on the pitch, I think, from just like a pure entertainment perspective, and somebody that casually watches soccer or even watches it like as a pundit. Sometimes it's just easy to miss like what they do there. But it's such a pivotal role. And Dax, I think, has always been kind of one of the gold standards in MLS on how to do well in that role. And he showed it when he came on. And he's also, to your point earlier about the video, it was Noah Cobb and it was Dax McCarty in that locker room. And that was another aspect of the Ozzy, Jeff Larentowicz, kind of Michael Parkhurst persona that you wanted. You wanted to see that because Brad can only yell so much.
Yes.
He can only yell so much. But you get a guy in there like Dax who he can be kind of the maestro, and that helps build confidence for the young guys. And I think it also helps kind of settle some of the veterans a little bit.
When it comes to the rest of the Eastern Conference, Tyler Pilgrim hanging out with us here from Scarves and Spikes at ATL Pilgrim on the 280 character app. When you look at the rest of the Eastern Conference, we'll start with the breakaway pack. We'll treat this like that Tour de France thing.
All right.
And you look at the Eastern Conference as we get ready for the run in here. That breakaway pack of 1 through 4, we'll take it a brick at a time. You look at that breakaway pack of Miami, Cincinnati 5 back, Columbus 5 back of that, but they've got 2 matches in hand, and then Red Bulls at 41 points. We could even include NYC and Charlotte if you want to be at the bottom of that group. The first chase pack, 38 and 37 points. When you look at, say, 1 through 6, what are you anticipating here for the run-in?
I think Miami and Cincinnati, to me, that's almost too close to call at this point, just because there's so many factors. Columbus, though, by the end of the season, I see them sitting in second. I don't think they're going to just completely overtake that top spot, but I do think they bump into the second place somehow or another. New York the Rebels. They're interesting to me because Atlanta has them twice, and we know the history. They finally broke the curse last year in terms of actually beating them in the regular season. But if Atlanta could somehow pull out 2 wins against the Red Bulls, that's massive, because though they are sitting on 41 points right now, that would be 6 points that you would gain, jumping right up behind them, regardless of what happens with NYC, Charlotte, Orlando. So I just think like those are really important matches, and they're ones that we know the rivalry, we know how bitter it can get, but both of these teams have had a ton of turnover, over the past 2 seasons, much less the past few months.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's one where I hope the fans bring it big time at home, and I hope there's a good traveling contingency of fans up to New Jersey for that one, because I just think that one should have like a proper like derby atmosphere.
Just make sure that you get an Uber that doesn't freak out and not figure out where the damn stadium is. Personal experience. I've never. Where is this stadium? Red Bull Arena. Harrison, right here, right next to the river. Can't miss it. I've never been there before.
Wow,
almost getting killed.
That says a lot.
Getting onto the freeway. Yeah, and it's guys like lot 3, and you can see him driving away and everything. It's like, no, come back. You're on the phone with him, and literally the guy, once we finally did get into the car, left-hand turn, story time with John, left-hand turn to get onto the freeway to get us back to Newark and to the hotels. Literally, I swear I had Mr. Magoo as an Uber driver. And he's turning left to go onto the on-ramp to get onto the freeway. He doesn't see the large automobile coming in opposing traffic, heading right toward him as he's going like -8 miles an hour, making the left-hand turn to get onto the freeway. I'm in the back seat. I'm in the back seat of his Uber. And I mean, it's like a Ford Explorer, it's, standard pseudo large automobile.
Moving over to the middle back seat and buckling up.
I was already buckled up. I didn't have any choice. I mean, literally, it's like he's making the left, and I'm sitting there, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm going, okay, could you really step this up a bit? Yeah,
please.
Can you kind of like move this along? Because those headlights were getting big, man. I mean, it was one of those cars, like a Crown Vic, and it was coming at you like police interceptor speed, and your eyes get really big, and you're looking out, and you're like, okay, I'm going to hang on to the passenger seat in front of me and hope to God he makes the right-hand turn in time. He did, I still have what's left of my hair at the time. It was like, you remember the cartoon Claude the Cat where the puppy comes in and barks and the cat just kind of goes straight to the ceiling and
latches on.
and he latches onto the ceiling. That was me.
I bet.
That was me as he's making this left-hand turn. But yes, if anyone is going to Harrison, New Jersey for that road game, make sure your Uber driver has been there before and he knows the situation, because
that is a spiritual experience up in the New Jersey, New York area to ride with anybody that drives daily in the New York or New Jersey area, whether it's public transportation or, Uber, Lyft, whatever. That is a new level of fear I've never felt before until we did it years ago.
And then I'll give you another level of fear. Taxi driver coming from Newark Airport.
Nope. See, that's that's already rated R for me.
Yeah. Well, and the taxi driver was in one of those police interceptor Crown Vics.
Yep.
And we were going, and I think this was, a matter of fact, I think this was after the game up at Red Bull. And weather being weather, you know how it's, in the Northeast, something happens, then everybody shuts down. Or if weather in the Southeast in the summertime is what it is. I don't know if you've heard this, Tyler, but there are afternoon thunderstorms here
just a little bit
in the southeastern United States that kind of grind the busiest airport in the planet to a crawl, if not a complete and total stop.
Yep.
Ground stop at Hartsfield, plus the showers that were going on in the Northeast. So it was a double whammy, and our plane just kept getting pushed back, pushed back, pushed back, pushed back. And then they were like, oh, okay, so yeah, your flight's at 11:30. Okay, great. No, a.m. tomorrow. Well-ish. And so you got to find a hotel. So we find a hotel on the other side of the Meadowlands in East Rutherford. Find a cab to get us to the hotel. Police interceptor, reject, Crown Vic cab.
Hole in the floorboard.
Close. Every warning light on the dash was activated. And the guy is going 78 miles an hour down the freeway, going past the Meadowlands to our hotel. And I'm literally, and they're on my phone, no lie, on my phone, there is a picture of that dashboard with all of the warning lights on it.
I want to see this picture.
The boss was so concerned. And the guy's got the music cranked to 13. I mean, literally, it's 2 more than 11 and 3 more than 10. He was jamming out, taking us to the hotel. And literally, the boss, who is not afraid of anything and drives with the Leadfoot of Leadfoots, she is like, hey, can you slow down a bit? That's where we were, with all the warning lights on the dash going, the guy jamming out to whatever he was jamming out with. I don't even remember what it was because I was in fear of my life.
Let the bodies hit the floor? Basically,
yes, and it was going to be us if he wasn't going to be careful. He slowed down to like 74.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. 4 miles an hour is going to make a big difference.
Absolutely.
Spiritual.
So, yes, it was a spiritual experience. And so anybody that goes to these road games, please make sure that your transportation is sanctioned and that you're not pulling your hair out when it comes to going to and from the place which you are staying.
But if you do, save all your screaming for the game.
Yes. Vicious rumor. There's going to be somebody on the show tonight that has not been on the show before.
I know. That's I don't know. You want to tell them who it is?
No. I mean, I'm not going to tell them who it is, but I figure what we may do is, if we did this. Go for it.
John Nelson, Mr. OSG Nelson himself.
Yeah.
We're going to be swapping windows here.
Yes, basically.
Be on the show with us tonight, starting at 7.
Batting leadoff tonight,
yep.
And oh my God, I'm frightened. But no, it'll be fun, and we'll probably go over because you know me, the petty flower that I am, always struggling to fill time and not say anything more than a 20
There's
second.
nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh,
we
man.
welcome it all. It'll be
So,
fun.
yep. So I am joining the party tonight, and I am looking forward to it. I have not been given the questions ahead of time, so I do not know the answers. This is not 21. Look that up.
Not quite.
Look up quiz show on the YouTubes or on
Yeah.
Wikipedias. This is not quiz show, and Tyler is not Jack Barry. But
No.
yeah, so I will be on the nighttime tonight, batting leadoff, and we'll see what kind of trouble that I can get into. Oh my God, what have I gotten myself into?
Hey, you're in it now, so
yes,
let's have fun.
Yep. All right. So for those that have not partaken in the evening show, even though they should have by now, how do folks partake in the evening show so they can watch the Scarves and Spikes version of the Spanish Inquisition? And we know that no one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Easiest place is YouTube. Go to YouTube, Scarves and Spikes, and you'll see it. It'll be on at 7. John's getting on with us just after that. And then we're going to dive in. We'll talk about Atlanta, talk about the LA Galaxy game, and whatever else may pop up in the meantime.
Yeah, the Killer Peas and Marco Royce and Dibs. Dibs!
Yep.
Give me a break. All right. So as always, my friend, it's great to catch up with you on Wednesdays.
Thank you.
Did I hear a canine in the background at points during
I think you did. You did.
Not that it matters, considering
I must have left the door open.
Now the rowdy man's right here anyway. He's just surveying, and he's security here in Office HD. We will
taking out whoever was knocking on something out there.
Exactly. So let's see, so in 9 hours, we're switching roles to where I will be on that side and he'll be on that side.
Yep.
And we'll be discussing things, and they're going to put me through the ringer, and so it's going to be fun. But no, looking forward to it, my friend. As always, thanks for dropping by and dropping your knowledge on Wednesdays, and we will catch up with you tonight. I will catch up with you tonight, and everyone will be watching and making fun of me being on the other side of the screen.
Yes.